Hey traders, checking into the stock market today. We had the S&P 500 finally start daily consolidation. Bears in control the entirety of today. And we finally have some earnings to check in on for the tech sector, Google and Microsoft after hours. So we can see the S&P 500 had a daily inside bar yesterday, broke bear today into that consolidation, testing daily EMA 12 and currently holding it. SPY not much different. And the hourly downtrend is our guide. We do have a little bit of a bounce after hours due to the Google and Microsoft earnings reactions, which we'll look at in just a second. But we'll see where we stand tomorrow. FOMC, 2 p.m. Eastern, is going to see a significant impact. And pretty much the FOMC reaction is going to, if it's a bullish reaction, we will have our daily high or low set and be looking right back at bounce highs fairly quickly, as that resistance right now is only 2.5% away. And if it's a bearish reaction to the FOMC, that's then going to be enough pullback where we will be scouting a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce from there. And until then, again, I'm trading a bit less this week, as I keep mentioning, but sticking bearish, just not interested in bounces because clearly we have hourly downtrends. Clearly, we're due for some profit taking before all these fundamental unknowns, in my opinion. And so just keeping it simple and shorting hourly lower highs and 15-minute lower highs with my day trades and going into the FOMC fairly flat as far as my balance is concerned. So we have an hourly downtrend as our guide. And depending on where we open tomorrow, I'll be watching 392.38 hourly resistance on SPY. We've got the NASDAQ pulling back more notably. Again, it is bouncing a bit after hours, but still a very clear hourly downtrend. Did break a 15-minute resistance level there, but I need a lot more proof than that to believe the bulls. And at this point, with how much we have pulled back already, we're watching for the potential. We could bounce 3% and still be looking for a daily lower high. We could bounce 4% and still be looking for a daily lower high. So if it's a bear reaction to the FOMC tomorrow, then that's going to create a whole lot more space for that potential daily lower high. And I have a bear lean as long as the NASDAQ is weaker than the S&P 500. If the NASDAQ starts to strengthen comparative to the S&P 500, I'll go back to a bull lean. That's been a good guide for me over the last month. And so that is where my bias leans, the direction that the NASDAQ is leading. So looking after hours at some earnings, we got Google, Alphabet. So a bit bullish. I mean, not really. It's not bearish, but we're trading after hours right here. It's not very bullish. And Microsoft reaction is pretty much where we just traded for the last 4 hours. So overall, we can say the earnings reactions are not bearish, but I'm not really calling them bullish at this point. So essentially, these are non-events for me, and I'm now just looking to the FOMC. And we'll have to see what guidance is on their conference calls and things like that. But as far as moving the needle for the broader market, at this point, it's a non-event for me. Semiconductors showed relative weakness the second half of yesterday, but that did not last long. We failed to break the high of yesterday this morning by 50-some cents, 40-some cents, and closed near the low of the day. Hourly downtrend is our guide. The bulls need an hourly trend change back in their favor to set a daily high or low. At this point, the retracement size for the semiconductors is still a possible bull flag as long as daily EMA 12 is holding. So watching to see, when is the daily high or low going to shape up? FOMC, I wish there was no FOMC this week because I would be a lot more comfortable with the hourly trend as my guide, scouting a daily high or low. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. Tesla, big time pullback today, and things started to pull back and then got ugly real fast. This 15-minute drop here, that's the kind of bounce that I'm interested in. So I'm not interested in a bounce here. I'm not interested in a bounce here. I'm interested in the bounce when hourly hits first oversold conditions from a bullish earnings reaction, and that hourly RSI got down to 20. The 15-minute RSI was in the teens, and the 5-minute RSI was in the teens, or right around 20. So that is when I look to get bullish in terms of playing that bounce. My aggressiveness as a bounce trader directly matches the aggressiveness of bears. So if we're puttering down with little stair steps and lower highs and lower lows, I'm not looking to be aggressive. If we're free falling and I'm seeing the oversold conditions align on all these time frames, and it does matter to me that I'm looking for a daily high or low, that is a factor, because if we're in a downtrend on every single time frame, then that matters a lot less to me. But that's when I get interested. So I did play a little bounce here. In the end, it wasn't a very eventful trade. I think it was out before the second leg up. So very uneventful trade, but it was a small green trade. Healthcare sector testing a very key resistance level. We know it has been a lead bull in the broader market as far as our major sectors are concerned. It's a double top right now at this 132.04 level, which is the highest price that we've seen in 2 months. If we lose the hourly uptrend from here, looking for an hourly high or low, if we lose the hourly uptrend, it's a notable double top rejection. We will still look for a daily high or low, anything above 127.82, but I'm watching this very closely to see whether or not healthcare can confirm this inverse head and shoulders on the weekly and see a weekly uptrend for the first time in a long time. Utilities sector is very similar, heading up towards its resistance, trying to confirm the weekly trend change. But I care more about XLV due to the size of its holdings in the S&P 500. And XLV strength today, we started to see some biotech sector strength as well. And there was definitely some correlation there in my opinion. We held the low of yesterday. NASDAQ fell well below the low of yesterday. SPY broke the low of yesterday. All these sectors breaking the low of yesterday. The biotech sector did not. And we had a big 15-minute bounce where we could see relative strength here. And then we formed a quick little bull flag and then exploded. There was a really nice short scalp that I took when the 1-minute stair step pattern broke bear. I was just sitting here staring at a higher low every single 1-minute candle this whole run. And as soon as it was lost, I enter LABD and put my stop if we hit a new high from there. We then pull back in 5 minutes, 0.5%. You might say, well, so what? Who cares? But LABD went 1.5% in 5 minutes. That is very worthwhile as a day trader. So exited fairly quickly, and I then actually flipped long. It was one of my, I think it was my only long trade. No, I did the Tesla bounce, but only long trade of the day here was entering for the 2-minute high or low. So exited my short and then quickly flipped long, and then exited half of my long and then the second half of my long on the new high of the day, and traded the biotech sector in both directions. Attempted this rising wedge, and it did stop me out break even, but I did jump back in just at a less ideal spot, but into the end of the day, a big time pullback. Again, the volatility in this biotech sector, the dollar volume that I've traded in these ETFs, these leverage ETFs in both directions, I have no idea, but I would assume they're making up 40% at least of my dollar volume on the entire year. Bull ETF, I mean, look at this opportunity. The bear ETF goes up over 5% on the morning. The bull ETF then goes up over 12%, and then the bear ETF goes up over 6%. That is huge opportunity in both directions, especially if I'm just looking for little base hits day trading, and 1 to 2% is worthwhile enough for me. So biotech sector is still in a daily uptrend, but I'm looking at this weekly chart and I'm saying, all right, well, we just bounced 50%, not quite, 40% plus from the lows. We have a stair step pattern with a higher low every week for 6 weeks in a row, and we're tightening up. I'm watching for a daily head and shoulders, and that's potentially our lower high being set. So tomorrow I'm watching for an hourly lower high compared to the high of today, and if we then confirm an hourly downtrend, that daily lower high is going to be shaping up, and we then have to break 79.41 to confirm a daily downtrend and start weekly consolidation. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know what the FOMC reaction is going to be, but I know that's what I'm looking for. And so we look at XBI divided by SPY, and it already gave us that daily head and shoulders days ago. And so now we're just watching to see if that happens for the sector itself. Where did we leave off? Healthcare bulls, financial sector daily consolidation started. So this is, again, XLV lead bull. XLF has been a lead bear, has to confirm the daily trend change to shift from a lead bear to not being as weak. And so I'm watching the retracement size here. Is it a bull flag? Does it favor continuation? At this point, the answer is yes, possibly. We have to see how much pullback we get from here. Visa had earnings, not really much impact after hours to the financial sector. So daily trend change needed as we are battling weekly EMA 12. There's a whole bunch of names battling weekly EMA 12 resistance. The crypto sector led the bounce and it led the pullback over the last few days, and they are rejecting from weekly EMA 12 resistance. Ethereum is one of the crypto names that I played on this bounce. Look at that rejection from weekly EMA 12. I'm all out of that bounce trade at this point because that was my target, weekly EMA 12 resistance. But SPY, QQQ, XLF, all these names are hanging out around this resistance level, and we're just watching to see, do we reject from it or not? IWM is a potential daily bull flag, holding on really well. Inside bar yesterday, inside bar today. If they break bull, our higher low is set at 178.05. If they break bear, we're still going to scout a daily higher low, but the probability of a bear flag will decrease a bit. But as far as the daily consolidation that we're seeing in sectors right now, aside from healthcare, IWM is the healthiest daily consolidation right now. Growth names are seeing a bit of weakness. So MSOS, this is US Cannabis, inside bar bear break, getting a solid red day today. ARKK, potential rising wedge bear break. Again, look at the weekly EMA 12. We're just battling it for a month and pulling back a bit, starting weekly consolidation, only by a few pennies, but bear break on the day. Well, not a bear break on the daily, but a big pullback on the daily and a whole bunch of space for a daily lower high next bounce. Snow is a growth name that already rolled over and confirmed a head and shoulders. Weekly EMA 12 rejection. So we're watching all these growth names. PLTR still holding on. But again, we can bounce 10% from here and just be looking for a daily lower high. CRWD, another one, rejecting from resistance, heading to support. So watching for the potential. And that's another reason why I'm watching the biotech sector for potential weekly consolidation, is because I'm seeing consolidation shaping up on all these growth names that are pulling back notably from the highs of their bounce. CRWD, tons of volatility in both directions, but in just 3 days here from the high of 3 days ago, we're already down 13%. Dollar testing 4-hour resistance here. Still rejecting, but we're right there. If we do reject, we'll look for a 4-hour higher low to try and form. Bulls are trying to keep a weekly bull flag alive, which at this point they're doing. This is still a potential weekly bull flag, absolutely. We would have to see, and the dollar is going to react to the FOMC tomorrow, we would have to see a clear daily downtrend and a move to weekly EMA 12 if we're going to start to see a bit more of a pullback than would lead to a bull flag. Metals are still extremely weak. Daily EMA 12 is resistant. I'm not covering metals again until daily EMA 12 is no longer resistance. Just keep it simple. My technical analysis is done in 3 seconds on metals. Daily EMA 12 is resistance. Okay, we're bearish. Oil, daily higher low was set, and we looked fairly good to starting to shape up this inverse head and shoulders, but weakness today. I'm sure there was a headline with oil reserves or whatever the headline was, but a notable pullback. So bulls have to save this here. If we break 93, I'm going to call this a failed inverse head and shoulders attempt and a failed daily trend change attempt. And that'll be notable to me because that keeps a weekly, well, it's just weekly inside bars. I was going to say a weekly bear flag alive, but we haven't even bounced enough for it to be a weekly bear flag at this point. Just stick with the daily lower highs. Every single bounce has been a daily lower high since our top. Natural gas, well, let's look at energy. Energy sector, daily trend change confirmed. Gap up open this morning into some profit taking. We will be scouting a weekly lower high here, but not just yet. Still a daily uptrend. So bigger picture, swing perspective, I know I'm scouting a weekly lower high in energy, but being very patient for it. Natural gas bulls, absolute huge move up this morning. The ideal top fishing play. I mean, this is one where wherever we're going to talk about a course about top fishing, this is your prime example. Why? Because we were overextended on a ton of time frames into key resistance. The 12-hour RSI was over 80. The 4-hour RSI was over 80. The hourly RSI was pushing upper 80s. The 15-minute RSI was in the upper 80s. The 5-minute RSI was in the mid 80s. You can't be more extended on every single time frame into a key resistance test. It was just a silver platter for top fishing bears. We went 7% in 40 minutes on that last leg up. And the rejection at this point is a pullback of over 7%. Still a 4-hour uptrend, but this is going to have bears watching for a potential 4-hour lower high attempt next time we bounce. So keeping an eye out to see if this double top is going to lead to daily consolidation, where we will be scouting a daily high or low, watching for back burner trades. First hourly oversold conditions, we'll certainly be watching for a bounce, but a very nice double top. All right, I'm done talking. So just grinding out with day trades, mostly bearish, couple little bull trades, but only on the sectors that are clearly showing bull directional lean. And we'll see what the FOMC tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, gives us. I hope you're well. Do good things. Thanks for watching.